Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Stories with Maya Zama. And today I have Reba Daniel with me on episode 4. She was a journalist. She is still a journalist. Today we are going to talk about a super controversial, very hot topic which is being discussed not only in Kerala, Hema Commission report that came up in the Malayalam movie industry.
Film actor and therefore the industry and everything associated with it, I think was automatically put on a pedestal. People are people. Shitty people are shitty people. Nice people are nice people. Even in the Malayalam film industry, there was a very famous actor, very well-known actor, who has spoken many years ago. He's passed away now, and it is hurtful to find out that our heroes have
not
feet of
heroes.
clay. Yeah, so think about the toilets in most of our railway stations. Even think that women need a decent dressing room. They didn't feel that. So that's not like a new requirement. No, that's a human requirement.
Even the principal or the correspondent is misbehaving with the teachers and professors. He was misbehaving with all the doctors, the junior doctors, the nurses, who was again enabled by his own wife, and a lot of other stories. I don't want to make it.
In Malayalam, they say, Maunam Sammadam. No. How do you say no when you feel like a mouse in the clutches of a lion?
So I was so shocked when I got to hear like Shobna or Sridevi and all. They were only 14 in this. 80s actress who told that she was supposed to act in a scene where there was a kiss from the hero, and she was not even informed about this kiss. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Stories with Maya Zama. And today I have Reba Daniel with me on episode 4. And today we are going to talk about a super controversial, very hot topic, which is being discussed not only in Kerala, though it started in Kerala, now it's discussed all across the country and even the world, I would say, which is about the Hema Commission report that came up in the Malayalam movie industry about the safety of women actresses and other movie technicians in the industry. And Reba Daniel is my best friend, therapist, mentor, guru, chechi, sister, mother, everything to me. And I'm so happy to have Reba here after Goda. Now, Reba, as a professional, is into birth, postpartum, doula work, counseling, therapy, inner child work, feminine embodiment, and so many of those things. But before all of that, she was a journalist. She is still a journalist. Alle, ippozhum journalist alle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was into journalism actively for many years. So that is one big reason why I have her for this topic, especially. How do you feel about this whole Hema Commission thing, Reba? We've been discussing about this. I mean, I'm not from the movie industry, you're not from the movie industry, but still, I feel like a personal win when women come up and talk about all these things, open up about things that happened 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. How do you see the whole thing?
Thank you, Swati. It's really nice to be here. And as you know, ever since this whole report and this whole event burst on the, I think, the Malayalam society scene,
Yeah.
we both have been like messaging each other, sharing, articles, points of view. So I know that we're both very, very so interested in this thing and
Yeah.
all the layers that it brings, right?
Mm.
So, like you said, I also have this feeling of, oh yes, someone has been able to speak up for many things that we ourselves were not able to speak up in our childhoods or whatever. Every time a woman speaks up,
Mm.
it's somewhere a mirror of or for us
Yeah.
also.
Mm.
I'm looking at this more, journalism, of course, and I have my own opinions about how weird the media has been around this whole issue and many other issues like this.
Mm.
But today, what I'm bringing is more as an observer of society and making sense of the bigger picture while not losing any of the necessary layers, because a lot of the layers in it are not being spoken about, are not being seen, are not being highlighted.
Okay.
Just that sexual abuse, exploitation, women speaking out. So it's become again back into a very convenient, neat box, like everything. And people calling it the Me Too. It's not really the Me Too. There's a difference between the two. So every voicing out against someone, against a position of authority, every voicing out against unfairness, I think it is important to see all of them in its own right,
Right.
without just mashing it up into just the Me Too or women yet again are here to, be crazy
Fashion,
bitches
yeah.
or whatever, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You are.
So I like to look at it a little more in depth, because then if we begin to have conversations about the layers, it really is very instructive for us as the viewers. And the viewers are not just silent viewers. Remember, for me, I feel like everything that came out, this is just another reminder that the film industry also, like every industry, is a reflection of society itself.
Yeah.
I think the only difference probably is that, a lot of people are saying that they're shocked, and a lot of people are saying they're not shocked, because, for some people, it's the same whether you're in corporate and IT, whether you're in
Medical field.
medical field, every industry,
Yeah.
every time there's a hierarchy, there's a person in charge or a person who has a position of authority. And if they are not very good individuals, they are going to exploit that. There is an entitlement that comes with it. So it's the same narrative.
So some of them were not shocked.
I'm definitely, but there's many women who are saying, no, we're not shocked. And there are many other people who are saying, it's why are you finding it so shocking, right? So I think the shocking part for a lot of people, for a lot of the common man, it's probably that when you talk about something like the film industry, there is this place where, for the common man, the lines between the individual who's the actor and the character that they play are sometimes blurred. Like, for example, Mohanlal might think that he's a normal person playing a part. But for the common man, that's not where Mohanlal is. Mohanlal is somewhere up there, which is the same for. So everything in that film industry is accentuated. It's a little more than, it's painted in different colors. It's aspirational, or it is something more than, it's something that brings relief from my daily life. So all of that is there for the common man. So the film actor, and therefore the industry and everything associated with it, I think was automatically put on a pedestal. And now people have to deal with that. No, people are people. Shitty people are shitty people. Nice people are nice people. Ignorant people are ignorant people, which I think, a lot of them, a lot of things might have happened when a person is a certain age. And this can be for the man and the woman.
Yeah.
And then the same person is occupying another part of themselves when they're in another stage of life.
True.
And therefore they speak differently about it, or therefore their behavior changes. So people are people. And I don't think anybody needs to be shocked that, these revelations are coming out about this, because there is so much more, of course, it was a glamorous thing. And it is hurtful to find out that our heroes have,
Are not
feet of
heroes.
clay. Yeah. So apart from that, I think it's a really good reminder. Everything around us is a reflection of society. Exactly what happens in society is actually what's happening there.
Yeah.
And what is very important is for us to use this as an example to see, okay, what do we need to pay attention to? What are the things that need to change? Because everything that is actually talking about is talking about pay disparity. It's talking about lack of clarity, maybe not
Toilets.
basic. Like,
Yeah.
I've been in jobs where, okay, forget our jobs. Think about the toilets in most of our railway stations, right? And when the men's toilets are too stinky, men can go outside and pee. And what do? We have to hold it in, right? Unless you get to a certain age and then you don't actually care and you also find a corner and you go and pee outside. This disparity about facilities, just make do with whatever you have, just the basic thing is necessary for you. What I like about it is that we seem to be entering a time in humanity's, evolution, if you can say it that way, where people and especially women are saying, no, this is not good enough for me anymore. I am saying that this is not good enough for me and I want to raise my voice. And that is being possible only because of the years of the past. All of those little glimmers of empowerment, whichever way it came to the individual,
Mm.
collectively we are getting to a place where women are saying, okay, this is not good enough. I'm not going to take it anymore. In the responses of some, like for a few days, I couldn't stop. I was just scrolling through all the videos. I'm a bit of a news. What I loved about it is that by the second or third day, when the allegations and the news of, okay, this person, and some of the women who spoke out, they were not at all hesitant about using names. Some of the women who spoke, and they were all very respectful about it. I think they were very balanced in how they spoke. They were speaking in very measured tones, but also the truth was also coming out. And I remember observing that one of them said that actually it was so long ago, I wasn't even going to come forward and bring it up. But I saw one of them sitting very smugly and pretending like he was such a clean, innocent person. And then there was this feeling that came inside me saying that that's not done, right? You don't get to do all this and even now pretend. It was almost like when I heard it from her, it was almost like this woman felt, okay, you've been this culprit. Like you and I know that you were indecent to me. If you had at least shut up about it and not made a big scene, I might have let it pass now. But you're not doing that, and okay, then I'm not going to back down. And she in the initial parts, there was this one woman who said that, and I felt like, hey, that's not done. That I'm not going to let it go, because for her it would have looked like, okay, and then he's playing the same game all over again, right? And then that urgency that she needs to speak was there. So all of these layers, I'm really enjoying watching it come out, because I'm really seeing a lot of courage in the women, because even now, like we don't know how this is all going to fade away and what the end of this chapter is going to be, and it is quite likely that they will still continue to pay the price for it in many ways. What is hopeful for me is that a new set of people seem to be coming and taking a stand within the industry itself, which is, you always need that allyship and work together with allyship and collaborative energy to create that which is new. I know for sure that that which is new is not going to be perfect, but there seems to be this genuine moral will, this genuine intention to build something better. And that's all we can do anyway. And that's all that we are required to do for this
Absolutely.
next step,
I mean, come on, if tomorrow, if Maya wants to get into the, I mean, she has other dreams, but if she wants to get into the performance or acting or modeling or whatever kind of industry, she should be able to like happily go there and have
Yeah,
a gala time, right?
yeah.
She
And
should
I,
be.
as a parent, should not have to
Huh?
worry that I have
Yeah.
to escort her all the time. The same sort of decency that I expect from any industry
True.
is the same fundamentals that I
Yeah.
should be anticipating from the film industry, you
Yes,
know?
yes, yeah.
So maybe that was a shocker, that even the basics that an IT job gets is not here. Of
Hmm.
course, the hierarchies and the power play is going to be there all the time, but certain aspects of this was still like a, really, they don't
Hmm.
even think that women need a decent dressing room. They didn't feel that. So that's not like a new requirement. No, that's a human requirement,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
true, true, true.
So to even think that that wasn't considered necessary by maybe even the people who we venerated as the directors at that time is like a bit
Yeah,
off-putting,
yeah,
in some
yeah.
ways.
Another angle that I've been seeing is to do with consent. Let's say some of the top DMs I get with regard to sexual abuse can be from teaching industry a lot.
Mm.
So the professors are not good, or the HOD is not good, or even the principal or the correspondent is misbehaving with the teachers and professors. We don't know how to react, and those kind of DMs have come. And I remember this particular DM that I got from a psychiatric hospital, a very famous one in, I think, Madurai or some two-tier city. This woman who messaged me was a doctor, a psychiatrist herself, and she said how the owner of the hospital, he was misbehaving with all the doctors, the junior doctors, the nurses, and none of them are talking about it. And it seems she said a no to something and she was kind of spared. But that's not the case with everybody else. And then I told her, you need to bring it out. I can help you in whatever way I can. Can you just talk about it? And she was like, no, ma'am, I don't want to talk. I just wanted to share it with you. I know that if I open up, it'll be a can of
Mm.
worms that I'll be letting out, Pandora's box or whatever. So I'm scared. So all that I have also like been part of a lot of women's stories that way. My question here is, a lot of people have been saying about why can't women say no? Why after so many years they are saying all this? What's up when it happened? Then where were they? Where was their courage? These kind of things come up, no? So why can't women say no? I also couldn't say no a bunch of times to
Yeah.
many things. So I'm just asking you.
I think we are all products of the system that we have been brought up in. Right now, when we say women, we're actually talking about in any dynamic, whoever is the lesser than or whoever is more vulnerable, that person has always been groomed by society itself to be subservient, to say yes, to give in and pretend like nothing happened. So, the core of this answer, I think it probably lies in the fact that individuals don't feel like they have any power or they have any agency over themselves. And in our country, in our socio-cultural setup, what is happening is women and also children, women and children end up being the lesser thans. Not because men are evil, just because the system is actually set up that way. So, women often, when it comes to these spaces of being approached sexually, and this is also true for children, like, why do pedophiles, why are they
Get
so
away with it.
successful?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the person who is at a disadvantage is groomed to not have a voice. So I think this question of consent is a very layered one. We think consent is a simple yes or no. And I would even go as I would even be so presumptuous as to say that, in my personal opinion, even this movement called feminism has actually not been so good for women in these layered spaces, because feminism will say just say no. So then it takes you to this place where you have to go back and your head knows that you have to say no, but your body is under years of
Freeze
grooming.
response.
Yeah, and the grooming depends on your personality. Some women will actually say no, some women freeze. That we all know this from psychology, and it's
Yeah.
widely available, this information.
Yeah.
So to say just say no, yes, some women are able to just say no. Some women freeze and then they know how to say no, or they will get to the place where they can say no after
After a point of
two
time. Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Then they will go and gather up the courage and come. Who a person is, this is not just for women, for men alike. A human being at the age of 17, that same person is going to be a different person at the age of 35, right? Because you've lived more. You might have had more life experiences that show you and teach you and help you to learn that it's okay if I respond, it's okay if I react, even if I hit somebody. So imagine if somebody's brought up with this extreme non-violent approach and they need to hit somebody, it will be so hard for that body to go and slap somebody. All of these are there when you talk about consent. Submission does not mean consent. Giving in does not mean consent. Consent is, I know exactly what's happening here and I am with my full volition saying yes. And then in Malayalam they'll say, no, maunam sammadam, no. This is also part of grooming.
A lot of movies and all, nammade subconscious
So this is grooming.
Yeah.
When you have it in the popular media, when you have it in poetry and literature, when you have it when your parents are giving in to an unjust boss and you hear the story at home. So submitting, giving in to somebody who's more powerful, when that is groomed, then actually there is no there.
Yeah.
It takes you a certain age because the human brain keeps developing. We go through many stages of development, and I don't think it ever stops. Even when we're old, right? A 60-year-old is different from a 50-year-old, who's different from a 40-year-old. So at each stage, we develop more capacity, more confidence, more clarity, and we operate from that point, right?
Yeah.
But when we are younger, we don't have any of these things. So I don't even think like a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, and all, without being very fair to all of the other layers that exist, that coexist in her experience, you can't really even, with fairness, you can't say that, but you consented. And also,
even
you
in
spoke out
siblings,
or you didn't
yeah,
speak out.
you were speaking about it, no? Even in siblings,
In
one
siblings, so
chechi
I
can
was,
be the
yeah.
no chechi, the other aniti can be I can't.
Yeah, because I learned this from my sister. I am the older one. I'm the oldest of three girls, and I am the eldest. But my sister was always the one who would speak out and react against. Like if we were in a group place and someone was trying to grope in either one of us, she would be like, Eda, what are you doing? And she would just go behind them, and I would still be freezing. And actually, when I was in my teens, I would even like tell her, no, let it go, come, let's go home. And I would be asking her to go home, and she would be so pissed off at me for rightly so. But we are from the same family, and my response is so different from her response. I think it's a bit unfair to say ask that question to the people who are speaking out now.
True.
And also to compare, like a person who has the confidence to say that you can't compare that situation to another person who's exactly the same in the same situation but has a totally different personality,
Yeah.
may have been raised a very different way,
Yes.
who might have experienced a very different childhood.
True.
It is our memories and our experiences that train our bodies about what to do
In a
when
certain
you're in a
situation.
tight spot.
Yeah. Mm.
Right? So just because somebody could say no,
Mm.
that doesn't mean that the just, that word just is very disturbing to me because I have grappled with that a lot. Why
Mm.
couldn't I say no? Why couldn't I just have to say no? How do you say no when you feel like a mouse in the clutches of a lion?
Oh,
Right? Because you're feeling that
I
way.
like that analogy. Mm.
So even if you say no, it's going to be right?
Serious.
What's the lion going to do? One whack and you're
Eat you
done
up
for it.
anyway, yeah.
But the older I got, it was like I learned how to look back into somebody's eyes. At 17, I was afraid to look at anybody's eyes.
Yeah.
Right? Second thing is you internalize that it's your problem.
Mm.
Every situation that I've been in where I have been treated inappropriately, it didn't even dawn on me that it's that person is at fault.
That's also groomed. No, if something happens, also we've been attacked, right? You might have smiled at them. You didn't wear a dupatta. You went out after 7 p.m. So it's always again put
Yeah.
back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you entice them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just being myself is like seducing.
Very
This is a long, all the
Yeah.
reasons against the rape cases and all, we've gone over all this. But this is pertinent here also,
So,
right? A young girl who is at that age,
yeah.
who
So the
doesn't know what to
age,
say.
the experience, the temperament of that person, the personality of the person, what she has experienced prior, and of course that those other layers of this is the only kind of job that I'll get, or apart from this I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Maybe
Or
what.
she just even likes it so much.
Hmm.
I've heard several of the stories that came out later when the woman was just saying, from a young age, I just liked to act. This is my passion. This is the job that I desire to have. And me not submitting to somebody else is making me pay a price, which is the point that this report has just brought out. See, I don't feel like there's anything wrong between two adults asking each other, I'm interested in you. Would you be interested with me? Or you want to take it further or whatever? If there's fairness in the dynamic, if there is no sense of coercion and all, that's between two consenting adults,
Yeah.
right? But where it becomes a problem is when the authority and power that one person is possessing comes into the dynamic where the other one is feeling coerced, overpowered. And the next thing is when the person who's supposed to submit is not giving in, when they don't want to and they say a no, they are made to pay a price professionally.
Yeah.
Now that becomes even more serious, and it's in another category where it's actually about my employment possibilities are being restricted because I was not agreeing to giving sexual favors
Yeah.
to somebody.
Yeah.
So in this whole thing, there are a lot of interesting layers. Now, this withholding employment opportunities that exists in other industries
Of course, yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Promotions
yeah,
being
yes, exactly,
not given.
medical, advertising, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like probably in colleges, it's just that we don't know all of these stories. But everywhere it's probably existing.
Yeah.
But here now, because of this particular incident, it's becoming highlighted more.
Right.
And it's again, the whole point is back to somebody who has power, who is not a good person, can do a lot of things with that power. And on the other side, we are grooming a lot of the majority of people, and especially young women, to not occupy their own individual power. So then one person, it becomes very power heavy on one side and very power absent on the other side. And then all of this happens. Now, the people who spoke up also, what is the repercussion to that, right? When you say it's a mirror of society, there's all this masala and a lot of feasting of the carcasses going on in the media. After that, is this woman going to be offered a job in the film industry? Is
How
a
is she
director
being
going
looked
and
at?
invite her? Okay, some of them are saying, I left the industry again.
Yeah.
But they want to say, listen, we just loved your spunk and we think you're right for a character. If we actually include you in this movie, we'd love to have you in it. Are people going to approach her like that? Right? Even if she makes just one cameo role, is she going to get the opposite side of the experience than what she chose? Like, I can't do this anymore, and then she leaves. Is someone going to invite her back?
I mean, generally, how is she going to be seen? Like you were talking about other spaces where she's going to occupy. How are people going to see her there?
Yeah, what are her neighbors going to think about her? So again, the question arises that what is society going to see her as after this event?
Yeah.
Now she's being lauded as this brave woman, that this person who's been willing to open the can of worms, like what you're saying. After that, what? Right? What are her neighbors going to see her as? What are her children's classmates? How are they going to see her children? What is the story of her life going to be? So and so the actress, or so and so the one who brought out the allegation against so and so act. As a society, how are we even seeing them? What is the caption that we're going to give to these women? In another year, what is the caption that's going to be given for a news report referring to this event? Are we really owning our own truthfulness and those spaces when we see them? Because they're paying a big price for their truth.
Yeah, because when I as a young person see that, tomorrow if I need to open up, that is going to be an example for me. Oh my God, she was treated that way. So then how am I going to open up? Right? Even the comments and all. Oh my God, if this is what they're going to talk about, a woman that talks about all these things, and how am I going to talk about it?
Yeah. So the society's reaction to it, not just now, society's reaction to it now, society's reaction to this next year, and what is the new systems that are going to be constructed, and what are the spaces of honor and safety and moral rightness that they are going to try and hold. All of this will matter in how is this actually going to change spaces, public spaces, professional spaces for women or for whoever is vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because even in the Malayalam film industry, there was a very famous actor, very well known actor, who has spoken many years ago. He's passed away now. He's known for not mincing his words. He has spoken about this very openly. At that time, there was hardly anybody. So for a girl or for a young woman inside the industry,
Who's not even a mainstream actress, probably.
she's probably just an extra. And look at what the story that she sees is that somebody with that much position and what she would see as a lot of power, that person speaks and nobody else responds. There is no mention about it. Then where is she on the hierarchy of things, right? And depending on where she sees herself being on the hierarchy of things, that her vision of herself will hold the truth of what she feels like she's powerful enough to do. From there only she can operate. So how do we change that place where women stand? How do we make it a better environment so that they have that agency? No matter where I am, like in a school, it shouldn't be that the sweeper lady has less rights as a woman than the principal will have, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, how do we create spaces like this? I think this is the challenge for the new world, for the new
The employers,
humanity.
people who
And
are-
somewhere I feel we are different. Collectively, we are a little different than where we used to be 20 years ago, I think. So, I have a lot of hope. And people are coming forward, people are seeing. But I'm still waiting to see how do we bring all of the layers that need to be addressed in this.
Yeah.
How do we handhold and empower at the same time?
Yes.
How do we help them heal and also create spaces for the voices to stay very strong and true and courageous?
Yeah.
How do we weed out the truth from the untruth?
We
Right?
need to talk about
All
that.
this is fascinating. And
Yeah.
this is like right now it's a melting pot where all of these things are inside and
Yeah.
bubbling away.
Recently, a yesteryear actress has come up with shocking revelations, abused from the age of 17, 18, 16, 17, 18 onwards, for many years by this director, who was again enabled by his own wife and, a lot of other stories. I don't want to make it
It's okay.
titillating for everybody.
Everybody's already watched the
Yeah,
story.
so
And
yeah, you
yeah.
can go reach out to the other vultures for all of that. But the point that I'm trying to make here is she speaks about how she was being made to do sexual favors for him nonstop continuously during the shooting, the process and everything when she was 17, 18. And a lot of comments, a lot of people's reactions to it was like, so you said okay to it, right? That's why it happened for many years. So again, speaking about this consent, which you very rightfully pointed out, that consent is not subservience, or consent is not just submitting to something, doesn't mean that somebody is giving consent. How can you explain it to a lay person, a 17, 18-year-old girl going through these kind of things from an adult man, people thinking that she's actually consenting to all these things? What are the layers that are underneath that we can actually unearth?
So I think that if there is coercion and if there is repeated coercion, if there is grooming at a certain age, which definitely happens at a young age for men, women, children, to a certain age.
Mm.
If there is grooming, it's not consent. If there is coercion, it's not consent.
Mm.
If there is repeated pressure, it's not consent.
Mm.
You have to pay a very heavy price for saying no,
Mm.
and then you give in. That's not consent.
Yeah. Like
Consent
loss
is a
of
clear.
employment and all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Consent is saying, yeah, I agree to this. When you say consent, it is a human being standing in themselves, in their own power, saying that, yeah, I think, yeah, I agree.
With every cell of their body.
Body or even mind, I mean,
Yeah.
but they are saying it.
Yeah.
They're saying a firm yes.
Wholeheartedly with
Yeah.
full autonomy.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to explore that too. Yes. It's the same as, if you're taking a scene and one actor is saying, hey, I have this other idea. Why don't we try the scene this way? Oh, yes. Okay, good idea. Okay. The
No,
yes
I guess
should be there.
no,
A
because,
yes is a
because
yes.
there is an abbreviation, Reeves, consent is fries. Have you heard of it? Each word and the E actually denotes enthusiastic.
I
14.
don't want to,
Mm.
but I'm saying yes. That's not consent. I'm really scared that if I say no, something might happen to me. So I'm saying a sort of yes.
Hmm.
That's not consent. If I don't give in to you right now, I will lose my job and I'm the only earning member of my family.
Hmm.
So then, manasilla manasoda. I
Mm.
think that's a really nice word in Malayalam.
Yeah.
Manasillata manasendo. Manasilla manasoda saying that's not consent. So when you're saying even this example and this example that you said, right? What is very interesting about that is I don't think that a 16, 17, 18-year-old
Mm.
who is groomed by a much older man
Mm.
and the man holds a position of authority already, that's not consent.
Mm. Because she also mentions, I thought he loves me.
Yeah.
I thought he'll marry me.
So this is the interesting thing about a 17-year-old brain, okay?
Mm.
And you have been 17-year-old girl, I've been 17-year-old girl.
Mhm.
But our head is filled with romance,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mm.
Because I think how nature's designed us is, see, a 17-year-old can fall in love with an 18, 19, 20-year-old. And both of those brains are in a certain stage of evolution. Intimacy, a glance, a look. You're hungering for the first taste of that falling in love.
Mm.
This is where the brain is at that time.
Butterflies and all of that.
So now when you think about an industry and a girl who's in this industry, it gets a little more complicated, I think,
Mm.
than what we would have experienced.
Mm.
Because now you are in an industry that's kind of praising you for your looks.
Mm. Mm.
It's giving you adulation. It's giving you fame. You don't really know how to deal with all of that.
Mhm.
You may be kind of friendless in that situation, not having enough people to anchor you, which a lot of successful actors and actresses, in interviews, especially in Hollywood interviews, I've heard a lot of them referring to, I always kept my mother and my brother close. So
Mm.
that, so now I understand what that means, right? It's to keep yourself not just protected, but also anchored to reality. Because you can get sucked into this world of make believe, and everybody's telling you what they want you to hear because everybody wants something from you. And imagine
On
being
top
like
of that, your
17 years.
family is getting money.
My
So,
family is getting money.
yeah.
Your family may not be the best of. This is not to say that this person's
Yeah.
is family is this way, but these are all possibilities in every story, right? And you're 17 and you're all this and you're getting all this recognition. You're in this very bedazzling world, and part of that is like somebody really famous seems to be very interested in you.
Mhm.
So it can all go in one direction where you don't really understand where that direction is taking you. And it's very easy to be swept away by it all because, like, how she said, she thought she was in love
Mm.
and she really thought he loved her.
Mm.
Maybe he'll marry me, even was some of the thoughts going on. And
Obviously.
because that's what you think at 17. And that's the stage where that human the brain or that mind development is at that stage at that point of time. So even putting a person of 17 with a person who's 35 plus,
Mm.
I think already the power dynamic is so screwed up there.
And imagine a lot of those 80s, 90s period actresses, they all came into acting like at 14, 15.
Yeah, so
and
that was a norm, right?
So I was so shocked when I got to hear like Shobna or Devi and all. Not now, when I got to hear it, that they were only 14 in this.
Yes, and she's playing a
movie.
26-year-old or a 23-year-old, or she's playing somebody's wife,
Mm.
and then she finishes the shoot and she goes back to her schoolwork.
Oh my God. I can't even.
Right? I think all these women are women who grew up too soon because
Yeah,
that.
they won't have their identity at all. No, who am I actually, right?
So I think a lot of them did a very good job of reclaiming their autonomy as they got older, which is something I love about a lot of Malayalam film actresses. But if you're only looking at that age and that stage of life, that's not particularly a time where you're mature, where you understand things, where you can really foresee the consequences of your actions,
Yeah, yeah.
where you have very grounded people around you telling you, well, this can lead to this, so actually proceed with caution.
Hmm.
You might have people telling you exactly the opposite,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it might go to your head. Like I'm recalling this beautiful several interviews of Sri Vidya, who is one of my favorites, and
Hmm.
she speaks with so much maturity about, at that age I was like this. The only later one understands. So that context is not there at 17.
Yeah.
That life experience is not there. That understanding has not developed yet.
I have also heard the interview of another actress, famous 80s actress, who told that she was supposed to act in a scene where there was a kiss from the hero, and she was not even informed about this kiss. She was just kissed on screen, like when the shooting was happening, or when they said action or something. How would you even, as a 16-year-old, what will you do? And your parents might also be there standing, wondering what to do because they are all very powerful people, right? At the end of the day, you're very scared.
And also, everybody's taken aback, right? There's not even time to react or get permission or all of
Yeah.
that. I think there was this chronic pattern of youth being dishonored and taken advantage of women
Mm.
being taken advantage of. And
Mm.
that was kind of normal, I think. And I feel like this is the time where we're actually saying someone or people themselves, and then a proper allied front is also saying that, yeah, we all agree that this is not okay.
What happened now for everybody to say this? What do you think happened over the years? Why today's young women are stronger or having more boundaries, aware of autonomy? Even the young men, for that matter, a lot
Yeah.
of them are not unlike the previous generation men. No, what would have happened in that time frame?
I think a combination of factors. Some factors that come to my mind, and I'm sure there's more. And I would love to hear more comments about this. I think that times change, right? Women. So we sometimes criticize the mother was earning money, but she was still being like the slave in the house. But I think even that earning money changed dynamics in a family a little bit, right? And then when schools started changing and boys and girls, when
Mm.
people thought it was okay for boys and girls to be friends, right? In my generation, we wouldn't, if my mother saw me even looking at, don't look, don't do this was so claustrophobic. That disconnect between a boy and a girl just being friends itself was so large.
Yeah.
I think that's changing to
More
some
boys'
degree.
schools, more girls' schools, and that and all faded away over a period of
And now
time.
the
It's
boys
very
get to
rare.
hear, or boys are getting to be friends with the girls
They're getting
and
to
to
know
actually
a
stand
woman
up for
better.
them, right? Not that they're going out. Even
Mm.
otherwise, there's friendship.
Getting to know her more than as an object. You know,
And there's
she.
places where you can be there for each other,
Mhm. Mhm.
or at least understand the other person's point of view. And also that brings this feeling, no, oh, a girl is also like me only. She also wants to be treated with respect.
Yeah.
She also does not want to be grabbed. She
Mhm.
also does not want, I also wouldn't like to be grabbed. So that context of we are very similar to each other and both need the same kind of respect. You actually begin to see life through another person's perspective when you
Mm.
become friends with a certain person.
Mhm.
I think that's a big factor.
I think the whole working women
And these
scenario
boys would have
changed
had
it a lot.
mothers who were working.
Mm.
That would have changed
Yeah.
things slowly.
Because she's
Sometimes
making
things,
money, she's talented, she's
yeah.
qualified.
And then she's talking about, maybe at home, she's talking about a story at home, how a colleague she was passed over for a promotion. And this boy is hearing all this. So I think a lot of change has been happening in tiny bits and pieces, very imperceptibly, but it's been happening. And I think there's a lot of men now who actually stand up with women for fairness
Mm.
rather than saying, oh, that's your problem. There seems to be more and more men who feel okay to stand there with women, which is a result of, maybe this and many more, probably many more things.
And again, society is also, as you said, films are a reflection of society. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ. Even the film started portraying a different,
Sort of woman, yeah.
yeah, sort of woman who.
Still lesser than there should be, but still there are these glimmers,
Yeah.
there are these small little ways, at least there are more women directors now,
Mm.
right? Even if there are only one or two, there are few women cinematographers.
Women's perspectives towards a marriage or family, parenting, everything is coming up. Yeah.
And now there's when blogs came, there's more places where women can actually express
Mm.
themselves. Of course, still the majority is not, but still these These small little seeds, small little glimmers,
Yeah.
I think they've been going on for long enough that collectively it is actually making a difference.
Reebs, another angle that I wanted to bring in was about false allegations. Uh, what about that?
I think every time there is an unfair power dynamics,
Mm.
one of the after effects will always be that there will be false allegations because people are people. There will be women who will want to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Definitely. And there will, unfortunately, might be situations where men who are innocent actually get caught up in it also.
Mhm.
I think it might help us to start off with the word allegations itself. There has to be a framework under which these allegations are scrutinized. There's already a legal framework, making sure that there's fairness around it, that evidence does not suddenly and surprisingly go missing, making sure that those loopholes are all secured. I don't think it's a question of not knowing how to figure out a system around it. I think it's important to make sure that the loopholes and the gray areas are not misused so much. So then the same set of rules hold true for true allegations,
Should
will
hold
be the
true.
same filter that you'll use for false allegations.
Yeah.
And just the effectiveness of that framework itself
Mm.
can ensure that whatever is unfair also has to be addressed and punished.
Right.
And what is true also is addressed and the culprit is actually held accountable and
Right.
has to, be punished or
Right.
held accountable, and whatever is the repercussion of that, they'll have to pay that price.
So, Reeves, as closing note, I'm sure you agree that it all boils down to parenting, childhood, the belief systems that we have during childhood, how we have understood consent or boundaries, even each of the genders respecting each other's spaces, and how the concept of sex should be pleasurable for both the parties, and there should be active, enthusiastic consent at play. All these things start from childhood, right? It all boils down to
I would
parenting.
say, yeah, a lot of it.
Mm.
At this stage that I'm in, I hesitate to say that 100%
Okay.
because I know there are deeper layers in
Yeah. Yeah.
people,
Mm.
but a lot of it because, see, in very simple words,
Mm.
what are we talking about?
Mm.
There's a Hema Commission report that came out
Mm.
that says there's a lot of bullying going around,
Mm.
right? Not to minimize it,
Yeah.
but the core of the behavior is I'll do this
Power
because I
play.
can,
Yeah.
right? And you better listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't listen to me, I'm going to make you pay the price, right?
Yeah.
That's bullying. Where does a bully come from? Somebody
Mm.
raises a bully, someone enables a bully.
Mm.
There are people who encourage a bully because
Mm.
in that umbrella of the bully, you can stand on the fringes and you can reap the benefits of the bully's behavior. Because if the bully is a really good bully,
Mm.
he's going to have a lot of clout. And as a society, what have we been saying? We've been accepting this in politics.
Mm.
We've been accepting this in the classroom. We've been accepting this completely in workspaces, right? Not just now, even before IT, in government jobs, is this not what's going on?
Yeah.
A lot of it. So we've been saying yes. And in our saying yes, we have been enabling bullying behavior. We have been part of it. Like, especially I have been part of it. Like when I've witnessed someone being bullied and I didn't stand with them or stand for them,
Mm.
like I can rationalize it, and there is a truth when I say that I was too young to even know how to do it.
Mm. Mm.
I didn't have the tools or the skills or the capacity to know how to step in.
Mm.
There's a feeling in the heart that you want to step in,
Yeah.
but you don't know how to. But that's the truth. But if you're, zooming out of the picture, we have all been in places where, whether by omission or by commission, we have participated in that system. So yes, it does begin in childhood. It begins in the youngest of public spaces, which is schools.
Mm. Yeah.
So, what are the sort of teachers we have? A lot of times we have teachers who are bullies to
Bullies.
us,
Yeah. 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 Mm.
right?
Mm.
And then we also had some teachers who were standing up to the principal, who were being a good buffer to us students. So, we've seen that also.
Mm.
I think just like there's so much good and bad. We need systems to standardize and create safety spaces, but the systems will actually work good only if more and more of us evolve to having a personal stand of goodness. The
Mm.
individual has to evolve to becoming a better individual for
Yeah.
themselves and for everybody around us.
Yeah.
That is the core, that is the destination that will actually help us to execute many sorts of frameworks that is actually going to create that better tomorrow.
Right.
Unless we have individual change, And that would mean that we'll have to challenge the politics. We'll have to challenge the unfair practices in childbirth. We'll have to challenge everything that's coercive, forcing you to submit, making you feel lesser than, making you feel like you don't have a voice. Everything, every place where somebody says, I'm the expert and I'm going to step on your foot and you better listen to me. In every space in society where this vibe, this energy, and this practice, this habit exists, we'll have to step up to and say, no, I'm not taking it anymore.
Right.
In order to take that, we have to begin healing ourselves and getting over our personal fears. We have to upskill ourselves to have the capacity to know, how can I say this sentence?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I regulate my nervous system and actually come out and say it? Whether it's to my mother-in-law, whether it's to my auto rickshaw driver who's bullying me, whether it's to the vegetable seller. Some people struggle with saying this to their own maids,
True, 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 true.
right?
Yeah.
So bullying exists everywhere. Now, what do I want to do in the face of bullying is something that we personally have to become very accountable. It has to become very personal to us.
Yeah.
And if it does become personal and we understand that a lot of this begins in childhood, then we have to look at our own, oh, how am I parenting my child? What are the behaviors that I am, okay, so I have a very strong willed child. How am I exercising boundaries so that this child does not accidentally become a bully?
Yeah.
That without my own, I didn't think I was going to
Conscious
make,
effort,
yeah. But this child ends up being a bully because if the child is bullying you, child is going to bully somebody else, right? So it all comes down to the smallest of people units. Then it goes to the next layer of people units, then the next layer of people units. And finally, it ends up in the biggest of spaces.
Yeah.
And we have to address it in the biggest of spaces and we have to address it in the smallest of spaces. And they both will come and like, meet each other. And then hopefully that is the path to creating that better tomorrow that
Yes.
we all want it. It's just the bullies who don't want it because they will lose a lot of power. But
yeah.
for the larger good, we all know that this is what is essential
Yes.
for the larger good, for that better tomorrow that we want for ourselves and for our children.
Yes, yes. Yes, Reeb. So thank you so much. I think we dealt with a lot of layers that we spoke about in the beginning, that, it's a very layered issue, very nuanced issue. I think so many layers came up. And I'm sure if we continue talking, then you will be able to bring out so many more layers, on the way here in the car. You were even talking about more things that's not even there in my notes. So I'm sure that you have so much to contribute. And we will talk about those kind of things also in the upcoming conversation. So thank you so much for having this discussion with me. I loved it. I'm sure everybody would have loved it. So people, thank you so much for watching. I will be back with Reba with other exciting, interesting topics that she is uh like use the word, you don't like the word, but she is an expert in so many things that really is not properly understood. So I'm sending you all again, as usual, a lot of healing vibes, a lot of love from me, from Reebs. Thank you so much. Bye bye.